What about when
Once you've done that.
we're ready to go? Oh,
And also the mural minutes I sent you.
we're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Snowy Valley's Council meeting, Thursday the 16th of October in Tumbarumba. Thank you very much to everyone who has driven here and to be here. It's good to have you here. We have no one speaking in the public forum. Acknowledgement of country. Snowy Valley's Council proudly acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of this land and waters and pays respects to the elders past and present. This meeting is being live streamed on Council's website to allow the community to follow Council debates and decision. Members of the public participating in a meeting agreed to have their image, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valley's Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Councillors are reminded of the oath or affirmation of office they made under section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993 and the obligations of the Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflicts of interest. Please ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or are in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voice or images is permitted by mobile phones or other electronic devices while in the room. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions given by the warden. Do not use the lift, there is no lift. If participating in the meeting from an alternative venue, welcome Councillor Lata. Please enact the evacuation plan for that location if required. Thank you. We have no apologies, no leave of absences. We have one remote attendance, Councillor Lata. All in favour of accepting that remote attendance? All those in favour? Unanimous. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interests? Okay, now we'll go to 5.1, minutes of the extraordinary council meeting. Moved by Councillor Hybrid, seconded by Councillor Wirtz. Councillor Hybrid. If there's no discussion, all those in favour? Unanimous. And 5.2, minutes of the ordinary council meeting, which was also held on the 18th of September. Do I have a mover? Yes. Councillor Packard, seconded by Councillor Hybrid. No discussion. All those in favour? Unanimous. We have no correspondence or petitions. We do have one urgent go into the mural minutes. We actually had 4 mural minutes there. Only one of them is written down in the papers. But that is, the first minute is to write to the organisers of Tumut Take Two, congratulating all participants for their outstanding contributions to the community for raising over $229,000 for local charities. And I want to make very special note of Councillor Hybrid, Councillor Wirtz, Councillor Packard and Councillor Thompson for your involvement. It was a fabulous event. Any comments from involved councillors?
Please, I didn't have to get dressed up. Oh, I'm dressed.
Yeah, and I think we will write to the organisers, but obviously Emma Peacock and Jess were the main drivers, and
Madam Mayor, I think the important thing to understand here is that over 10 years that it's been running, mind you, it didn't run during COVID and there were a couple of years, so it hasn't been 10 actual events, but across that 10-year span, this community and those volunteers and mentors actually raised in excess of $1 million that has all stayed within our community for very good causes. And that's what Tumut Takes Two is such an amazing initiative, is that it's ordinary people doing extraordinary things and supporting those people and organisations that need a bit of a hand up sometimes.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Secondly, I'd like to thank Jay from RDA Riverina and Rotary for the welcome event that was held last Friday down in Pioneer Park in Tumut. It was just really well attended, very interesting, all the people that have moved to town, and we even had the Fijians sing to us during the evening, but Rotary put on a great sausage sizzle, and that there were lots of cakes and celebration. It was a very uplifting event. So thank you to RDA, thank you to everyone who made the time to come along to that, and welcome to all the new people in coming into the Tumut area, and we'll be writing a letter to RDA expressing our appreciation. Any comments from anyone who participated? Secondly, congratulations to Jordan Mackie-Richard for the Human Hobble Ultra event, which was held out at the New Angel Flat over the weekend. She managed to have 80 volunteers help for the event. The biggest part was running 100 kilometres. She had people coming from South Carolina, which was her mother, and Tasmania, Queensland, South Australia. It was a really well presented event, and congratulations to the council. The grounds look fantastic, and the Human Hobble track, many people commented on how well it's been maintained, the best they'd ever seen it. So once again, a letter will be written from us all to thank you for that, because all the accommodation in town was full. It was, brought a lot of business into Tumbarumba. So congratulations, and special thank you to Georgian Mackie-Richards. This was her first time on taking the event over from the Fitzpatricks. And finally, congratulations to the waste team of Snowy Valleys Council and being highly commended in the New South Wales Tidy Town Keep Australia Beautiful Award. I might pass over to the Director of Infrastructure to talk about that and show us the award.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for the acknowledgement of the award. Look, the staff attended last weekend in Parks the Keep Australia Beautiful New South Wales Tiny Towns Sustainability Awards, and we were highly commended for the Snowy Valleys Council Zero Waste Strategy, which was a strategy which we brought to this council, and the staff were very grateful of being recognised for all the hard work in the zero waste strategy. So that is the award, and I think tomorrow we will be doing a photo shoot with the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor out at our FOGO facility to also thank the staff and recognise the award.
Well done, and it's something that I think all of us as councillors have such pride in the way that the waste system is working. So, particularly our FOGO. Okay, thank you. On to 8.1. Note of. Do we have to make all those motions? Yep. All those in favour of the mayoral minutes, the four of them? Unanimous, thank you. 8.1, notice of motion 2026 council meeting times and locations. This has been put in by Councillor Thompson and Councillor Sheldon. I wonder if we should merge this with also the report made by the paper about council meetings.
You may have made this, just the resolution of this will inform the later for the report,
Okay.
so that's okay.
Okay. So I've got a mover, Councillor Thompson, and seconder, Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The reason I've put this in is that over the last 12 months we've had differing starting times and meeting times, and also the pre-meeting get-together where we have an opportunity to ask staff questions. And a few people have actually mentioned to me across the community that they are confused as to when we start and when we're not. The other thing I look at is finding a time that is going to enable us to hold our meeting and actually be completed before the sun goes down, because there are times that people are busy, and the minute we start looking like it's daylight's finishing, everybody wants to rush. I think this way we're giving people an opportunity to do what needs to be done in the morning, attend our meetings and get home before it's inappropriate. And the second part of the motion is that we hold 2 meetings in Tumut, the Tumut or the northern end, and followed by a meeting in the southern end, so that irrespective of what the outcome of our referendum is, we need to engage really well with the communities of the northern and southern ends. And I think that this is a way that we demonstrate that we genuinely do care about what's happening at this end of our local government area. So with that, I'd like to put that our starting times for our meetings are 1 o'clock, and that the ratio of attending Tumut to Tumbarumba based areas is 2 to 1.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Do I have someone to support or go against?
I'd like to speak against it, okay, Madam Mayor. Well, I think it's fantastic to represent the communities and give them a standard time. Given the sheer size of our electorate, the 1 p.m. start time I have a little bit of an issue with. With people working, I just feel like this might really isolate the type of people that could attend our council meetings. And while people have to work, particularly young people and people who are studying or going to school, if they really wanted to attend or watch remotely, 1 p.m. is just seems like a rather inconvenient time. I would have it personally through allowing people to finish work, go home, settle, 4 o'clock be standard, or even 5 o'clock. I did a brief survey when reading this business paper on the council areas across New South Wales and what time they start, with the majority of councils across New South Wales starting at 6. Now I understand that we are a large electorate and 6 would mean that we would still be sitting in the council chambers at upwards of 10 p.m, which is not ideal, I understand that, but as the councillor that has to travel the largest distance, all these meetings, I would still personally see them start later, given that 4 p.m, 5 p.m. mark, even knowing that I would have to travel 2 hours twice a month to travel all the way here. 1 p.m, just for me, would actually be rather inconvenient around work times and study times for the broader community.
Okay, thank you. Someone for?
Oh, well, I'll speak for it because to me last year's, I said this at the meeting last year when you were organising all your times, and it's ended up like a dog's breakfast, to be quite honest with you, times and all the rest of it. I think we've got to have some uniformity. I understand Councillor Hardwick's point of view, but there are other people to consider throughout this whole thing, all councillors, and I just think that once and for all we've got to get it set and everyone's got to try and be there. We can't just keep changing. You know, like, as Councillor Packard said, they went to midnight, 11 o'clock, whatever. It was always known that it was going to be a Thursday, third Thursday of every month. Bang, everyone knew this before the elections. Bang, that's why I just want it set in concrete so we don't keep changing it once and for all. And Councillor Thompson has come up with a logical solution. It's there, it's in writing, instead of swapping all over the place.
And I think we've got to be aware of the code of meeting practice, which is going to be discussed soon, that our meetings should go longer because we should have more discussion with it.
It's inevitable that they will, Madam.
Against?
Yeah, I'd like to speak against the motion. I'm in the same boat as Councillor Hardwick in terms of having to work during business hours, so a later start for the meeting time would be beneficial for me as well as Councillor Hardwick and anyone who would like to attend from the local electorate. Also, in future councils, I know this is probably pushing a few years down the track, but trying to attract younger people and people who are employed into a position like a councillor, having meetings that start at 1 p.m. is just unfeasible for someone who's in a full-time position. It really just pushes that age demographic to people who are retired or have flexible working arrangements. Anyone who's working full-time or runs their own business knows that time is, it's a scarce commodity. So having a meeting that starts after work hours is beneficial for those people and works well for myself. Also, I do agree with Councillor Sheldon and Councillor Thompson in regards that the meetings need to be starting at the same time, just for continuity purposes. I would suggest that perhaps we just stay at the 4 p.m. mark for all of our meetings, as opposed to changing it to 1 p.m. And that way, we still have the continuity of the starting time, but we do not have the confusion that results in having different starting times for different meetings. I agree with the 2-to-1 ratio. I think that allows people from Tuman and Tumbarumba to have the appropriate amount of meetings. And yeah, I just believe, I don't know if I can propose an amendment to this to say 4 p.m. starting time for all our meetings, but I would suggest that's what my amendment would be.
Or do you want to discuss that when we get to the meeting practice further down in the papers, the time?
Or is this discussing?
But we need to vote on this one.
Oh, yeah, we need to vote on this one.
So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yep, so councillor Words has put an amendment. Do I have a seconder?
No. Well, it needs to be accepted by the mover.
Well, not just a minute.
No, it's an
Not
amendment.
if it's an amendment, it's an amendment.
Move it to 4
Have we finished?
4 p.m. Councillor.
Okay, so now we've got an amendment on the table. So we've got an amendment from councillor Words, seconded by councillor Hardwick. Would either of you like to speak on it again?
I think I've spoken on the reasons why it would work for now and in moving further down the track. I believe that standardising the time for all our meetings moving forward is a good idea, but I believe a later start for our meetings allows people who are working to attend, especially because the meeting practice now dictates that we have to attend physically and not via video. So that's why I believe a later starting time at 4 p.m. will work best moving forward.
Councillor Words and councillor Hardwick, I might just ask if Jeannie would mind reading out what the amendment is to make sure you're in agreement, because just for people watching, we don't have a screen at the moment.
Just share screen.
Yes, I can read it out. So have a standard monthly meeting time with meetings to commence at 4 p.m. And then also point 2, so have alternate meeting locations between Tuman and Tumbarumba at a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 meetings in Tuman followed by 1 in Tumbarumba.
Okay.
Remains. It's just the meeting.
You're happy with
time, yeah.
the amendment? Okay. Yep. So, okay, so we've had it 4. Anyone speaking against it? Councillor Packard.
I'm happy with point 2. I think having standard is absolutely right. I'll speak in favour of the early one at 1 p.m, so speaking against this. Only from having observed the different times and how decision making works, and we're essentially here as decision makers. The decision making process, once you have an evening meeting, becomes rushed, and I've just seen it a few times where things just sort of end up being dealt with in a somewhat perfunctory manner as you get a bit later into the evening. And I fully understand, I hate to think that it's a division along age or working, sort of is the difference between the two. But I think we are primarily elected for decision makers, and better decision making, better input from staff and clearer minds happens through the day rather than in the evening. So that's why I would favour the 1 o'clock, but I fully understand the working issue. So,
Anyone else for?
John's raised hand.
Yes
Oh.
and no.
Councillor Larder, we've just got Councillor Hayes, and then to you, Councillor Larder. Thank you.
First point, I agree with. Yeah, my greatest concern that is if you start the meeting earlier, you'll just get people talking longer, which is an issue for me, because I sometimes get a little bored with that. But I think the other issue is, I think, I think we'd be better off having all the meetings in the one place. I don't see any reason to come up here all the time. We've got the screens and everything, everyone can view it. It's just an extra cost. So I don't agree with changing it. I'm happy to go with what we've already put in place. But in future, if we're going to change, we'll just have them all in one place and we know exactly what time, what place, and all their gear works. Like we're here and the gear's not working, so is it working in tune?
It's working.
big comments how much better and clearer it is here. Councillor Inglis.
I support the comments of Councillor Packard. I think we do our best thoughts and work through the day, rather than at the end of the day.
Okay.
Some of us do work full time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Councillor Wirtz, do you want to close the argument?
Excuse me,
Oh,
Madam
sorry. Oh, John. Councillor Lardo, I'm very sorry.
I was just going to ask Madam Mayor if they could be, if we could consider putting those separately, because I think they're two very different different things. One's, you know, obviously in relation to the time, and the other one's in relation to where we hold the meetings. And I'm with Councillor Hayes. I'm not for holding anywhere other than in the one place because of the cost, especially when the majority of the staff that attend and have access to the reports are there. And I mean, how many people are in the gallery today? I mean, so it speaks volumes. It's the same thing every
We
time.
do have people in the gallery.
We do have a gallery.
But at the end of the day, I mean, there's nothing precluding people from watching it on Zoom, and there's significant cost in holding it up there. So we should be holding it in the one place.
So, Councillor Lardo, we can vote ad sequium. Is that what you'd like to do? You know, 1 and then 2?
Yes.
Yep, perfect. Councillor Wirtz and Councillor Hardwick, you're happy with that?
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Holding them.
I get to speak on the amendment.
I have a question.
I think we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Amendment.
Yeah, so this is just about how we're going to vote. We'll come. Okay, so we've got 4 and against 4. Councillor Thompson, you want to speak to the amendment?
The issue that I have, Madam Mayor, and with all...
You're not closing, are you?
No, because I'm speaking on the amendment.
No.
The issue of concern that I have is that once you start making these meetings later, and there's also provision, it means that it can end up costing a lot more, because there are provisions for if a meeting goes over a certain time, then councillors and staff are entitled to accommodation. They don't have to travel back to their home base. I agree with Councillor Packard in that we can sometimes do a lot more clear thinking and discussion during the daytime, and you know, the whole code of meeting practice is changing, and if people aren't attending the briefings or the workshops, and remembering that workshops are different to the briefings because the workshops can actually have presentations that don't relate to the business paper, but it is an opportunity for the presentation of information and the sharing of knowledge and information and understanding. If we're not attending those and we're not attending briefings and we're coming straight into a meeting, our meetings will go longer, much longer, because that is what the Minister has deemed that we really should be having our open discussion within our council meetings so that the community is aware. So a 4 o'clock meeting, the meeting length is allowed to be 5 hours. There is now no restriction, sorry Councillor Hayes, on the length of time that people can actually speak. So there's a lot of things to be considered, and a 4 o'clock meeting is, you know, how do we come to the middle ground where we're trying to work with all sectors of our community and encourage our young people who, unfortunately, I was employed full-time when I started on council and had 3 young children and had commitments with community groups. So we all have things that we need to juggle in our lives. It's just something that we choose when we nominate for an elected representative position.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Wirtz and Councillor Hardwick have moved this amendment.
Can I close debate?
Can I just? I've got to vote on the ad sequium.
Ad seria.
Ad what? Ad seria. All those in favour?
Oh, which?
Which one?
We're just voting to vote on both recommendations separately.
Oh.
Yeah. All those in
Councillor Hayes has
favour?
a question.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Hayes, question.
How many people online at the moment?
Two that I can see.
18.
So it's you.
Oh, yeah, it is used. Yep. Okay, if
18.
there's no more
18.
for or against, close of debate. Councillor Wirtz. Councillor Wirtz, only you can close debate.
Okay, it seems like, well, this might have been a good thing to discuss in a negotiation of which time is going to suit everyone, as opposed to throwing out different times and people saying this is going to work and this won't. Seems like 4 p.m. to is too late of a start for most of this council. 1 p.m. is too early of a start for some of this council as well. Perhaps there is a middle ground at a certain time. We used to start at 2 p.m. Originally when this council first started, before we made some changes. Perhaps 3 p.m. might be a better solution, and that would give us some incentive to finish the meetings within 2 hours, so that work times usually finish about 5 p.m. The staff would be happy about that. So I don't know if we can make 2 amendments, but
What we can do is vote this amendment down, and then we can have another amendment.
okay. Well, I'm open to negotiation on start times. I still think 1 p.m. is
Oh, apparently you can change it to, do you want to change it to 3?
Yeah, because we haven't voted on it yet.
So your amendment now is to 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. I think might work.
So now do we have more to debate?
If you wish.
Change it?
No, you can't if you wish. No, so that's your closing argument and you've changed your amendment.
I think I'm trying to find a middle ground that works for everybody.
You can have more debate now, yeah, because it's a new amendment. Yes, Councillor Hayes, do you want to comment on the 3 o'clock start?
Well, there's now 22 people online apparently, so that's good.
Maybe it gets more people get on.
As long as it's consistent, like I remember sitting here and we had to all meet on a Thursday because that was the mayor's day off. So we all had to do that, and that's why we changed that. And no matter what anyone else was doing, it all revolved around the mayor. But these days, a lot of us work. I'm back at work, so the later in the day suits me.
The 3 o'clock might work. Okay, any more debate? Councillor Wirtz, you're happy that you've closed that argument. We're going to put both these recommendations separately. So the first one is have a standard monthly meeting time, meetings to commence at 3 p.m. This is the amendment. All those in favour? And John's got his hand up. Yep. And I'm happy to support that as well. I think that's a fair middle ground. Well bargained.
I've got that right?
No, I'm abstaining, thank you.
No, Councillor Hayes, Wirtz and Han. Against, we've got Thompson, Packard, Inglis, Sheldon. Thank you, well done. Okay, now the second motion is alternate meeting locations between Tumut and Tumbarumba at 2-to-1 ratios, 2 meeting in Tumut followed by 1 in Tumbarumba. All those in favour? So we've got Thompson, Packard, Hardwick, Wirtz, Sheldon, Ham. And against is Hayes, Inglis and Larter. So that amendment's been passed, which means back to your motion that supersedes your motion.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Well done. Okay. Now, so that moves on to urgent business without. Yeah, urgent business without notion. Without.
8.2.
Oh, the question with notice, I beg your pardon. Question with notion, de-amalgamation loan, question from Councillor Shulman. And the question is a I'll read the question. If the referendum went in favour of de-amalgamation, the Snorri Valleys Council Financial Sustainability Plan is enacted. That includes borrowing approximately $5 million at the time of the FS Financial Sustainability Plan completion. Could the Acting General Manager explain to Council how this loan could or would be serviced, bearing in mind that Snorri Valleys Council at present has no income streams to maintain such loans? And I'll pass it over to you.
So it's sort of printed in the business paper, my response, but essentially, so as stated in Council's de-amalgamation implementation plan, Council doesn't have the financial capacity to pay $5 million to de-amalgamate, so essentially it would be reliant on a grant or a loan from the state government. If it was to fully fund the $5 million, so if a grant wasn't provided, Council doesn't have that funds available. So essentially that would be the loan option through TechCorp.
Can I just ask a question to clarify going on from that? Obviously the $5 million loan would be Snorri Valleys Council, but in time that loan would vest to 2 new councils. Can you just speak as to, I believe that was done on a 50-50 basis. Is that correct? And if so, is that how it would be done, or should it be done on a pro rata basis as per the allocations?
For the special rate variation, that would need to happen. As I stated, Council doesn't have that funds available, so the principal and the interest payments would need to be sort of recouped through an SRV. So at this stage, it's been split 50-50, so $2.5 million each at this stage.
Councillor Inglis.
What would be the likely terms of any loan?
So the term would be over 10 years. The interest rate is around 4.8%. And the interest and principal repayments are around $350,000 for each council per year.
So councillors, just so you know, thank you very much to our local member Joe McGurr. He's got a meeting with the Minister on Tuesday afternoon, and I'll join with him to discuss these matters and to just point out what a financial impost they're putting on a population, a very low population, and to see if we can get some leverage there.
Just one further question, if I may, Madam. Initially, the repayment of principal and interest would have to be met by the SVC, would it not, until such time as the new Tumbarumba Council is not only promulgated, but up and running.
That's correct. And what that timing is, we're still unsure, because when the new councils are proclaimed, we don't know. I think the Minister's sort of hinted at a 2028, but it might be before that. So yes, SVC would need to probably carry that for a year or so before it's then.
And that'd be $700,000 a year.
The implementation plan has us to be proclaimed in July 2026 and then go into administration. But that's our plan, maybe not the Minister's.
Correct. So that,
you used the word administration. I understood that the Minister expects the current council to maintain that role of being the elected representatives right up until the election of 2 new councils.
As administrators. He was very clear on that. Okay, and the second question, does Council's borrowing policy allow Council to borrow such funds without an income stream?
Yep, answer that. So Council's current policy states that where possible, loans should only be raised for income-producing assets. So obviously that's how you read the monthly repayments for the interest and the principal is on an income-producing asset. So essentially this isn't an income-producing asset.
But that doesn't preclude it, it just says...
No, that's best practice when you do borrow money. For council, it should be on an income producing asset.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Shearer. Moving on to 9, urgent business without notice. This is from Councillor Hayes, that council have a report about removing the plane tree outside the Middle Hotel in Adelong and remediate the damage to, and in the report talk about remediating the damage to the footpath outside the hotel.
Look, to make it perfectly clear, I don't want a report, I want it changed, I want the thing cut down, taken away, and I want it fixed up. It's been a problem for years, and we keep bringing it to council, the community keeps bringing it to council. The mayor's been out there and had a look. It's dangerous, people are falling over, people are slipping, the concrete is lifted, and it's because of this tree there. And there's not just one tree, there's numerous trees up the street that's continuing to do this. Great tree, wrong place. So, you know, what I'm asking for is that it be remediated as soon as possible. The proprietor of the Middle Hotel has had to have her sewage fixed up because the roots have got into that. It's ingressed into her cellar, so it's disrupting her property, and it's also hurting the roof on as well. So, are we responsible for that? Probably yes, because it's our tree, and we're not doing anything about it. I think we should do something about it immediately, and I don't want a report. I don't want a report to have birthdays on somebody's desk. I want it immediately as possible. And, it's nothing new. It's something we've been asking for years, and then the rest of the street needs some work. Just minor work to let the water get away. It's not rocket science.
Could we be able to see the motion, please? Because we need a mover and a seconder.
So if we move that it's...
I'll second it.
We'll just see what the motion is. Councillor Lara?
You have to rule it urgent.
Oh, I'm happy to do that urgent. Immediately remove... I think, no, the motion was a little bit different, that we have a report about removing. We can't...
And Councillor Hayes said he'd rather just get it removed.
That's my motion. You can change it.
The advice was to get a report just because it is, maybe I'll talk to
Madam Mayor, I'll move an amendment then that we do call for a report in relation to an urgent report, so that hopefully it can be done sooner rather than later. So if I can move that amendment that we actually seek a report, an urgent report for the works that need to be undertaken. If I can have a seconder, I'll speak to it.
Seconder, Councillor.
No, well, I'll second it, but I would like to ask a question.
Sure. Hang on, we'll just get... Seek a report to immediately...
Urgent report.
Regarding immediately removing the plane tree outside the Middle Hotel in Adelong and the possibility of remediating the damage.
Can
the acting general manager will speak to it.
The reason why a report's a good idea is because so we can, yes, investigate the tree, but also it does require expenditure of funds as well. So it would be handy in that report to identify those funds and where they're coming from. But also we could send out our staff to inspect the tree, and obviously that would be in the report as well.
So Councillor Thompson, there's two parts to that. Is your amendment for both or just the first part?
It's including, the report would include point 2, and if I could speak to the amendment.
Sure, but do you want both parts in the amendment, or should we just leave it just one?
Conducts remedial action to improve the drainage. Well, that would be included within the
report. So that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so that needs to be taken out. It's just the first one. Well, otherwise, we're moving a report. Well, we're moving to do that remediation work.
They won't know what to do. If you don't leave that in there, they...
Seek a report regarding immediately removing the plane tree outside the Middle Hotel in Adelong and the possibility of remediating the damage.
So point 2,
outside the hotel.
The point 2 can go up after and, but not be a separate point. So the report can include the remediation.
But possibility of remediating the damage to the footpath outside. So you're happy with that amendment?
Yes.
Okay, and a seconder to that is Councillor Sheldon. All those in favour? Oh, you want discussion?
I want to speak to the amendment.
Sure.
Please. I can understand Councillor Hayes' frustration and I can see the point that he's making. However, if we've learnt nothing in the last 12 months about doing in this council, is that when we make decisions without a full understanding of the financial implications, it's incredibly difficult to know, one, where the money comes from, or two, how do we choose what is considered to be more important than anything else that is already in our works programs. So for me to receive a report and to understand what the scope of the work is in the first instance, the remediation, and we need to have a very clear understanding of what that total cost is going to be. We can't keep making decisions to spend money on particular points or projects without fully understanding the domino effect of where that money is coming from or what we're taking money from that we'd already put in our works program. So for me, it's not about not doing the work, it's about understanding how much it's going to cost, what the scope of the work is. Because if they start doing work and suddenly it goes from being a $2,000 removal of a tree to a $40,000 remediation of all the footpaths and then storm water, we need to understand what that scope is. It's not just chopping down a tree, it's much bigger than that, and I think to make a decision without a report would be irresponsible. Thank you.
Can I speak?
You can speak, Councillor Watts.
So I think I agree with both of your points. The report is essential because you need to understand what is the implications and the scope of the works, but I don't think that stops you from just cutting a tree down. You just need a chainsaw to do that. And then you can say, well, what other works need to be done? Footpath, i.e. stormwater, the issues could go on for a long period of time, but just the first step of cutting the tree down does not need a report. But the works associated with that would, so you could simultaneously cut down the tree and get a report back to council in regards to the remediation of the damages that the tree has caused, i.e. the footpath
And the cost.
And the costs of the remediation, as opposed to just stopping the problem, which is the tree from growing any more than it already has and causing more damage. Because reports at council can sometimes take a little longer than expected.
Councillor Sheldon.
I've seen the tree and I understand exactly where Councillor Hayes is coming from. I just thought this is where my question comes. Isn't there an overall plan for the main street of Adelong?
The Director of Infrastructure.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we're doing a plan for the main street of Adelong this financial year.
This financial year.
Would you be able to talk to the point from Councillor Works about just cutting down a tree?
Through you, Madam Mayor, again, look, I think it would be prudent to understand the implications before cutting down the tree, and especially around cost and any other associated works, because we don't have it in the budget at this stage. So
For an arborist.
no, to cut. This is not a small tree.
What would the guesstimate price be?
It could be anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000.
Just want to ask a question.
Yeah, well, I did, because knowing the size of the tree,
Gets bigger every year.
yeah, but I hate to disagree with Councillor Works. There's traffic implications and a lot of other things that will have to be brought into account when looking at removing the said tree. That does cost money.
Councillor Packer.
And also just, I think there is the precedent, so speaking for having a report prior to removal, is just to remove something without having a report sets precedent that there could be a fast track to getting things done, which I think we would regret later on.
Councillor Latta.
Well, look, I've got to say a lot of this is just a word salad to me. I mean, Councillor Hayes has brought up something that's urgent. It's obviously having an impact on people and residents and businesses. It's a safety concern. I mean, just chop the thing down. I mean, if it costs $5,000, it costs $10,000, it costs 20. Who cares? It's a safety issue. And to say we need a report, I mean, send the experts down there, and if it doesn't need chopping down in their opinion, then tell them, at least they've got the go ahead to do it if they need to, and if they don't need to do it, they can come back to us. But I mean, you just made a decision on moving a council meeting to Tumbarumba 4 times a year without any report. Well, what's the impacts? How much is that costing to have all the staff come up here with all the cars and everything else? Nobody's done anything about a report there, and then you go on about, oh, we've got to have a
Councillor
report.
Leiter, we've got a point of order. What's your point of
We are
order?
talking about a tree in Adelong, not about council meeting.
Yes, stay on topic. Thank you, Councillor.
I am on topic because you're saying that we've got to have a report into everything and know where the costs are going, but you weren't worried about it when you're moving meetings. But now all of a sudden you're worried about $5,000 for a tree on a safety issue. It's complete madness.
Councillor Leiter, are you closing argument, Councillor Leiter?
I
No,
can't
you're
close
not.
it.
No, well, then
I can ask you a question.
you can ask a question, yes.
Would it be difficult to get a quote for the removal of the tree? Duncan?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's what we'd include in the report back to council, would be quotes.
Councillor, oh,
Just a question.
yeah, no.
Does anyone on council have any idea how many complaints have been received about this tree?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, we have had complaints about the tree.
Like 100?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, Councillor Hayes, but I'm aware of 2 or 3 complaints about the tree in my time here, but I'm not aware of
Councillor
what
Hayes?
happened before my time.
It's certainly been a discussion in the last 9 years.
9 years?
Yep. Yeah.
So this is my problem with it. It's been reported numerous times. I know we've even personally shown Duncan the tree about this time last year. Council has made a decision not to do anything time and time again. So somebody must have been out there and looked at it. There must have been a report made not to do anything about it. And now we're having another report. I don't mind if there's another report. I don't really care. I just want something done. Before somebody gets injured or before council finds themselves in court because their tree has caused somebody injury or damage.
And I think the fact that we're taking this as an urgent motion is saying to you that we do understand that.
Came up last night, Fergus Association,
Yes.
they see it as urgent, I see it as urgent. I'm hoping that the rest of the council.
Question or clarification?
No, got any question really? If for 9 years we've had 2 councillors agree on the time, why has it taken 9 years to get to this point today? Why is it left for a new council for something that could have been done ages ago and we wouldn't be wasting our bloody time?
Well, in all honesty, I know when Mayor Councillor Hayes was mayor, he actually took the Premier of the time down the main street to show her to try and get funding to get it fixed. It was the Premier. Her name was Gladys Berejiklian.
Oh,
Yes.
Remember Gladys?
We all remember that. Anyway, okay, Councillor Thompson, do you want to close debate?
I will. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think what we need to be really careful of is that we follow a due process. You know, we don't get to just, we've been to council, a couple of us with a councillor and people raise their issues of concern. We don't have a bag of money to one side that we can just go and allocate from for things that people are raising. We have a process, we have our notices of motion, we have all of this that we could actually work through. And so for me, if we now say we don't care how much it costs to cut down a tree, it's sending a very clear message to the rest of the community that we don't care how much anything costs if enough people say, oh, well, we'll just do that and that's more important, or we'll do that which means that we can't mow a park somewhere else because we've utilised funding that is allocated, then we need to be far more fiscally responsible, and we probably wouldn't be quite as in debt if we didn't just approve to do things without even knowing how much it's going to cost. If I ask a tradie to come in and do work at my home, I don't give them a blanket thing and saying, oh, I just want it done, without saying, I need to know how much this is going to cost so that I can allocate and budget for it. And it's exactly what we need to do. This is not our money. This is our ratepayers' money. And we need to demonstrate that we're having due diligence in the way that we're allocating funds and that there are...
Point of order.
Yes, what's your point of order?
Council
Councillor
did
Hayes?
get $1 million to spend looking at flood mitigation in Main Street.
I think you've got to have a point of order against...
Yeah,
the-
So
What's the point of order for my-
funding was available.
Councillor Thompson, do you want to finish?
At this point, I don't know how much it will cost to remove the tree or what the scope of works remediation is or how we indeed put that in. I know that you attended the Adlong, or I know that the Adlong flood study was on last week. So that is another point that we need to be looking at. How do we address the stormwater issues in the main street? Removing a tree is not the sole exercise of what's going on, but it's important it is. But we, as a council, need to understand what is the financial impost and the costing to do that work, and what is the scope of works, the initial scope of works.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. We'll put that motion. All those in favour? Receive a report regarding...
Could I just have the motion?
No, I'm sorry, the debate's been closed, councillor members. Remove a report regarding immediately removing the plane tree outside the Middle Hotel in Adamong and the possibility of remediating the damage to the footpath outside the hotel. Now, we've shut the... What's wrong with that?
Should it read receive an urgent report?
Yeah.
I
With a
did
time-
ask
with a
for
time-
urgent.
with a time
Yeah, sorry,
frame.
can urgently, it was in that. So we want a report to the November meeting. All those in favour? Okay, so we've got everyone. So we've got Thompson, Packard, Inglis, Hardwick, Wirtz, Sheldon, Ham, and against Hayes and Latta. Thank you, councillors. Carried. Okay, thanks for that debate.
The second part of the motion hasn't been addressed.
What was the second
The
part?
motion lapsed because the amendment went over it.
But you only replaced part of it, you didn't do the second.
Will we incorporate the second part?
We incorporated
into
that, we discussed that second point.
The rest of the Main Street.
You mean in terms of stormwater?
I think, can that be noted for the report? Publicly, there's a- Yeah, she removed it, that was part of the amendment we talked about. Okay, we're going on to 10.1, Council Resolutions Action Report, October 2025. Can I have someone note the report on Council Resolution, moved by Councillor Hardwick, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Hardwick. You're fine with it? Yep.
Madam Mayor, there's just a couple of points that
Councillor Thompson?
I'd like to ask. Just on page 35, 6.1, petition digital domestic waste vouchers. And I note that we have here the 31st to the 12th, 2025, that a report is going to be prepared. I've had people approach me asking why should the electronic vouchers have to be split over 2 separate periods and they can't just use 2 vouchers at once. So I note that it's supposed to be completed by the 31st of December, which means that we won't get the report until February next year at our first council meeting, should that be adopted. So just to raise those issues of the digital waste. Thank you.
Would you like to address that? Your manager or
For you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Thompson, so as the resolution states, the council will be undertaking a resource recovery waste service review, which will also include the waste vouchers. So we are looking at our entire waste area, which also incorporates how the vouchers are working now and if there's any changes required as well.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, and the second point on page 36, in relation to 11.1, the multi-purpose and evacuation centre. I have been approached by numerous people within the community who were disappointed that there wasn't the opportunity prior to the destruction of the previous playground area, that the gardens and bulbs and particularly the roses were not offered or made available within the community, so that they weren't just bulldozed, and that for those people who maybe had a significant connection to them could have gone in and got those bulbs or those plants.
Do you want the Director of
I
Infrastructure
can
to
answer
speak to
that through you, Madam Mayor. The contractor, Councillor Thompson, did allow for some members of the community who did approach them while they were working on site to put plants aside, which they did. They left the plants outside of the construction fence line, and those plants over the last week or so have been collected by people in the community, and we have now finished most of the work on site, and I believe there are no more plants left, but we did try and salvage as many as we possibly could, and we left them outside the fence line for members of the community to collect, because they were directly approached.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
Yes, my one is on page 36, and it's notice of motion productivity and cost savings plan. I've noticed that it's flowing out to the 31st of 2025. While I understand the work pressures we're all under, we've just received draft budget, draft expenditure or report on the financial implications of last year totalling $8.5 million, and we're putting forward a $3.2 million deficit for next year. I actually believe that this should become some sort of priority, that this cost saving measures plan is put forward.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Sheldon. So a draft productivity and cost saving plan has been completed. It just needs to come to council in the near future.
If there's any other discussion? I'm happy to. Yeah. All those in favour? Unanimous. 10.2, attendance at the 2025 REROC conference, 10th and 11th of September, moved by Councillor Packard, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Packard?
No, unless anybody's got any questions about any aspect of it.
I need to say it was very worthwhile going. Congratulations to REROC. It was well done. Highly recommend.
Madam Mayor, I think just out of point of clarification, a query was made as to why did Deputy Mayor Packard and myself have specific sections appointed to us, and just to make it clear that the first person who offered to start the report was Councillor Packard. He then sent that to both yourself and myself to go through. We had a look at the initial part, and then because Councillor Packard had attended the waste section and yourself and myself attended the energy, I did the next part. So you tweaked some of the bits in both reports so that there is input by you in there. It's just that you're not credited with it.
Well, I'd like to thank Councillor Packard and Councillor Thompson for spending so much time putting out a very good report. Thank you. Okay, all those in favour? Councillor Hayes? Unanimous, thank you. 10.3, draft code of meeting practice for public exhibition, and I will comment today that there was a very good webinar put on by the Office of Local Government, and I've asked that each councillor gets sent a recording of it because it was, I thought it explained quite a lot. Okay, so moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor.
I just wanted to make comment that I attended that webinar this morning.
It was good, wasn't it?
I agree, it was very informative.
Yeah.
It will be posted on the OLG website, and I commend it to everyone.
Thank you. Yep. So are you happy also to second that
Yes, I
motion?
second.
Yep. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Inglis, Councillor Thompson.
Madam Mayor, thank you. As Councillor Inglis and yourself have both pointed out with the webinar how important it is. The concern that I have is that I would still like Snowy Valleys Council to write to both the Minister and the OLG and identify the fact that they do not make provision within here. They talk about natural disasters, but they don't necessarily identify specific weather events that could impede. So just to seek clarification that should it be inappropriate for either councillors or staff to travel during extreme weather conditions, that those meetings can be held via electronic.
Councillor Inglis.
That's covered in the weather, Councillor Thompson. That question was raised and explained.
And basically, if there was a snow event between here and
Yeah.
that'd be fine. Do it
Yes.
virtually.
Yes.
Because at the moment, reading the actual code, you can't.
Yes.
can't
That's where the webinar did go through those, because somebody else asked that question as well. Any other comments for or against? Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous. So 10.4, 2026 schedule of ordinary council meeting dates and times. Déjà vu.
I'll move, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Thompson, seconded. Councillor Inglis.
Sure.
Madam Mayor, can I, with Councillor Inglis's agreement, can we, in point 3, insert the starting time as 3 p.m. and the location to, in relation to the meetings 2 to 1?
2 for 1.
Yeah. So if we can include that into point number 3, so where it says determine the time and location.
Question about the 2 to 1. At the moment, it's 3 meetings in Tumbarumba a year. Will be
Works out the same because we only
not January.
No,
we
we don't.
only have 11 meetings a year. We don't have the, unless there's an extraordinary meeting.
First month of the quarter will be in Tumbarumba. Except for
No, I would think February, March would start off in June.
Yes, that's what I said. The
You said Tumbarumba.
first month of the quarter will be in
So this is the issue. You've made a decision. You've got no-
I think we've got an order of the meeting to speak. Thank you very much. Okay, so
Policy on the run.
Just a question.
there's a question. Anyone for or against?
Yeah, look,
Councillor Hayes?
I think once again, you know, I think Councillor Thompson argued that we needed reports for things, and probably this is something we really did need a report for. Because we've made a decision that we come up to Tumbarumba, was it 3 times a year now? Is it 3? Or is it 4?
3.
It's 3, and we did it the same as last year.
It's 3. And, you know, so is that a quarter of the time or a bit less?
Roughly.
Or a third of the time?
I haven't said a quarter of the time.
We don't really know if it's 3, don't we? This, making decisions without really knowing what you're doing. You know, what about the other towns? What about Batlow and Adelaide? Don't they get a say?
Councillor Hayes, the floor's open. If you want to put an amendment in
No,
to
I
say
don't want to
that.
put an amendment. I've made my case.
Right.
I think that, you know, if you're trying to save money, you try and save money. You know, you have them all in the one place, live stream, and away you go, which seemed to work for years. But now we've got to change things, move things around without reports and just, oh yeah, it'll be right. Will we have it in March? Will we have it in February? Will we? You know, we don't even know.
Okay. Yep.
Making it up as we go.
Thanks, Councillor Hayes. Councillor Worth?
Yeah, just a clarification on that, because it is, you're right, Councillor Hayes, it is confusing, but I do think that it is important to have the council meetings in Tumbarumba for the people of this side of the Snowy Valleys Council. It's important that we share the meetings across so people from the community have access to come in person, and if they have a motion they wish to speak to at the start of the meeting, they can. It would be pertinent to actually, when you say 2 to 1, if you're only doing 3 meetings in the year, it's actually 3 to 1. Just the
Well, in actual
mathematics.
fact, the next 2 meetings are in Tumut, November and December. So the next one should be, the first one of the year, February, should be in Tumbarumba.
Yes, but this is the way that we don't have a meeting in January makes that, so we say it's 2 to 1, but because we don't have a meeting in January, it actually becomes 3 to 1.
But if we do that, then it does.
Yes.
If we continue on from now on.
But I think the way that we've been doing it is probably the best way.
Not really.
Not really, yeah.
Okay, Councillor Packard.
There's something that hasn't been spoken about, the benefit of having boots on the ground coming up here. I mean, this morning before the meeting, we got to see the Sports Academy, we got to see the dance school, we got to visit a new studio, we got to see where a basketball court's proposed, we got to go into a business and talk to them about how the Visitor Information Centre thing has been working. We got to see Ross Corner, of course, and get to understand what that building is like. So if we don't come here and we just sit in Tumut every time, we're never getting the opportunity to do that. So that's why, for me, coming up here, sort of, even if it's, which month, it doesn't really matter. It gives us an opportunity to see the issues which the southern end of the Shire have, and involve trips further afield if needs be.
As someone who's in the southern area, I really appreciate that very much. I'm speaking on behalf of all these people.
So just to clarify, we'll start in Tumut in Feb. We'll go Tumut, Tumba.
But why? Why shouldn't we go November, December?
No,
Next year. Yeah, because next year's a new year.
that's what this one is for. Next
January
year.
26th.
It's,
Unless we want
I'm
to
just
have
making a
meeting in
point.
January.
For Councillor Hardwick and I.
First meeting to be held in Tumut.
Okay, councillors, is there any more discussion?
I'll close the vote.
But is there any more discussion? Right.
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Yes, Councillor Larda. Thank you. I'm sorry if I missed you there.
No, that's all right, man. I just wanted to make the point again, just to reinforce it, that once again, this is a decision that's being made without a report. We don't know what it's costing us. We don't know what the impacts are. And yet, because of the optics, because it feels good to have a meeting in Tumbarumba and make out that we're invested in all the areas, and that's all it's all about, you know, some sort of theatrics that we're actually taking note. I can't recall ever going to any on-site meetings in Tumut to look at anything. So, I mean, if you want to organise for councillors to wander around, have a look at things, well, you know, perhaps you know, we should do them in all the places, not just one or two. I mean, this is about the meeting, and that's what's ridiculous about this. You know, it should be at one place. I mean, this is what the cabinet does in federal parliament. This is what state parliament does. They hold overwhelmingly the majority of meetings, and occasionally they go out and hold them in other areas. But it's not routinely done, and you know, the centre of business should be in Tumut, where the majority of the support and resources are. And unless if you want to change it and not know the impact, I mean, we won't remove a tree because, you know, it's potentially going to cost us $5,000. This could be costing us 20. Who knows?
Thank you, Councillor Lada. All those in favour?
no,
Oh, do you close debate?
just, you know, I've sat here and I've listened, and I know that we have a governance budget. I know that council staff still need to come up to Tumbarumba and interact because we are a merged council. So we do have two separate council chambers, one in the northern end at Tumut, one in the southern end here in Tumbarumba. We have been invited and we have attended many on-site areas, including True North helicopters and the aerodrome, and going out to look at specific projects, and you know, we make the effort in all of the areas. We're talking about not having a report that identifies every specific about this. We now are not allowed to have briefings prior to a council meeting to go through the agenda, and I get that. But we have workshops that aren't always attended, and these are some of the things that can be discussed at a workshop. We had Cabramurra where we actually had open discussions. And yet we still come back to, let's see at what point we can find to be critical of. I think that this is being fair and reasonable whether we have a de-amalgamation or we remain we remain amalgamated, it is important that we as the elected representatives make the effort to be engaged in all of the communities that we are. Whether we start going off to every individual town to have meetings, that may not be accessible. We at least have 2 council chambers that are set up for council meetings. So with that, I close debate and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. All those in favour? Thompson, Packard, Hardwick, Works, Ham. And against we have Inglis, Hayes, Larter,
Abstaining.
Sheldon.
I can say I'm abstaining.
Thank you, we heard you. Okay, 10.5, pecuniary interest returns for councillors, designated staff and ARIC members. I just want to make a point here, councillors and anyone who's put these in, thank you very much for putting this in. Just remember, if you do have another money-making source, it should be listed here. And I also do appreciate that I've had councillors pick me up on things that I've forgotten. So if you can help each other so that we're as transparent as we can in this area, it would be appreciated.
So,
2 recommendations there.
so sorry, you're saying don't wait until the schedule putting the meeting.
Yeah.
If something
Yeah.
changes in your life, put it in.
That is a good idea because something, yeah, exactly. You can change it as you go along. I think that it does have to come back to council though, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, do I have a mover? Councillor Hayes. Moved by Councillor Packard. Councillor Hayes?
Yes, just makes sense for transparency. I'm not sure whether you put businesses in that lose money, but
We're farmers, sorry.
Apparently making a loss.
Is a pecuniary interest.
Or the ability to loss.
anyhow. So,
Any other comments?
I've got a question.
Yes, Councillor.
I don't think I've included the fact that I'm a tribunal member of the personal injury.
Okay, so we'll just put it to, I've forgotten something as well, so it'll just come up again at the next meeting.
Right, thank you.
All those in favour? We've got Thompson, Packard, Hayes, Inglis, Marta, Hardwick, Words. And against Councillor Sheldon. So that brings us to 10.6, Statements of Investments, September 25. Do I have a mover? Councillor Sheldon, seconded by Councillor Packard. Councillor Sheldon.
No. I have no questions.
Anyone else like to make a comment, debate, clarification?
that's recorded, that's fine.
We're not going.
Okay. All those in favour? Unanimous. Well done. Well done, CFO. So lucky for 11.1. 11.1, Humelink Project Update number 4, 16th of October. Oh, that's the report. Okay, moved by Councillor Works, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Works.
Sorry. Now I'm hoping I'm not confusing myself with the next one. I am confusing myself with the next one.
So on this one here, I think it just should be noted that the camp at Batlow is progressing very, very quickly. It'd be worthwhile driving home that way just to see the accommodation there, and it's becoming a lot more obvious with work being done in the town.
Madam Mayor, I will just mention one thing that has been raised by a number of particularly residents and a business that are in, or 2 businesses in Capper Street, near the Humelink
Humelink East, I think.
Humelink East. They're having difficulty with the number of vehicles that are taking up residential parking spaces. They're parking in front of houses all day, they're parking in front of other businesses. So if our interface manager maybe could speak with them and say that the community is not overly happy with them expanding beyond their own footprint, and that they've come into our community and they need to be respectful of particularly the homeowners that are there and the existing businesses.
good point. Councillor Hayes.
So we've appointed a new interface manager, haven't we?
You're an acting general manager.
Yes, through Madam Mayor to Councillor Hayes, yes.
Did we sort of review the position before we appointed, or was there any sort of internal review of that?
Councillor Hayes, yes.
And were councillors involved with any of that?
Councillor Hayes, because it's an award-based employee, no, it doesn't require council approval.
I thought it would have been a special case.
It was discussed with myself and the Deputy Mayor that it was happening. Councillor Inglis?
Look, just following on from what Councillor Hayes said, and a comment made by the acting general manager, so that this person is paid pursuant to an award, no, not pursuant to a contracted fee, is that correct?
Correct, it's an award.
I understood that councillors, the previous council approved the employment of an interface manager. Not even Madam Mayor, is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
And that was subject to a review in 12 months' time.
I can't remember that. I can't recall.
So
That's what we were told at the previous meeting.
Yes, so just to confirm, it was initially a 12-month trial, just to see how the position would work, and then if both party agrees, it was to be extended.
Well, why then did it come back to council? I mean, there have been meetings where some councillors, including myself, have expressed concern that this employee faces an intolerable conflict of interest because Transgrid at any time can insist upon he or she being replaced if the contract's the same as the old contract.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that is your opinion about the conflict. The whole reason the position is there, because as you can see in the table, the amount of information that's required from Transgrid for that project, it was to take extra pressure off council staff, already very lean as is. It's an award-based contract, so those discussions happen with Transgrid about the appointment. So they're on the interview panels, they have a say, but it's between council and Transgrid, yes.
Yes, but Transgrid can insist upon that employee being replaced if they are not happy with his or her performance. That was what the old contract said.
Correct. Any role a council is like that. If there's performance issues, you have to, because it's an award-based employee, you have to follow the award. They can't come in and just say they're fired. That's how it doesn't work. You have to follow the provisions in the award, like
That's
any
not,
other employer.
That's not what the contract says. And secondly, I've approached the Office of Local Government about this to clarify the appropriateness of employing someone in that capacity. And it's been confirmed that it's not uncommon for interface employees to be employed, such as in this instance, but it's entirely inappropriate that a third party could have any control or say over the continued employment of that employee. So do I have that assurance that Transgrid have no authority to insist upon the current employee, whoever he, she or may be, being replaced at any time?
I'll have to triple check the contract, and I can't confirm what the Office of Local Government has
Well,
said.
could you do that and report back at the next meeting through you, Madam Mayor? Because
Well, certainly we can, if that could be.
I can send an email.
Send an email, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Inglis. Councillor Leiter, do you still want to talk on this?
No, but I agree with what Councillor Hayes and Councillor Inglis have said. I too think that this has been raised a few times by a couple of councillors, and I think including myself. So I would have thought it would have been prudent for it to be ventilated before us before we went down this track. But I think having them in control of the levers, if that's the case, is not ideal. If they want to support us, they should be giving us some in-kind support so that we can employ whoever we want. There shouldn't be any caveats or responsibility on us in terms of them being connected or tethered to these people, because it doesn't, it can have a very bad outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Loder. I think we're
Can I
over to
just
Councillor
seek a
Shelby.
clarification on a point of order? The report before us that we're looking at is actually a project update.
I do realise that, but it's
We've
gone.
gone into individual staff discussion in an open council, and I find that is probably inappropriate. That's
So
my
that's your
opinion.
point of order there.
That's my
Yeah.
point of order, that we are now discussing an individual staff member in open council.
But if we do look to the
It is in
report,
the report, it
it is
says
the
the
interface manager role has been established. It is.
Part of it.
I have been checking on that. Councillor Shelby.
I was just going to say, instead of just, perhaps it might be worthwhile that the acting general manager, instead of just directing one email to councillor members, that we're all informed so everyone's right
It
up to
is.
date on it.
That was the.
Thank you.
the plan.
Councillor Works.
Clarify what I've already been said. Is this role funded wholly by human?
Yes.
100%? Okay.
I do have concerns that there's been some information obviously given to transcript, and I don't know where it's come from. It may have come via this path, but that is not accurate or true about my community, and I think it's had a deleterious effect on the Avalon community. So I just want to make sure that the information that's given to transcript from council is correct and true. And I don't know how you manage that.
I think that's the role of the
That's
acting
the role
general
of the general
manager.
manager. So
Yeah,
I just want
To
to
make
make
sure
sure
that-
that
and that's been noted.
that's noted. And I think most people are aware of that.
So Councillor Thompson, do you want to close debate?
No, thank you. Done.
Okay, all those in favour of noting, remember it just is to note the report. Unanimous. Now we go to 11.2, rephasing of capital works program for roads, Hume project. And we have 5 recommendations there. Do I have a mover? Councillor Works, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Councillor Works.
Yeah, I think this is the appropriate move to take in terms of pushing the capital works budget and wheels back to 25 and 26, given that there's a maintenance agreement with Hewlink for the roads that Snowy Valleys Council are maintaining. I would like to ask the infrastructure manager, Mr. Mitchell, in regards to the capital works program that's pushing back, how will that affect the ongoing work for the Snowy Valleys Council depot?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if you go to the financial implications section of the report on page, sorry, bear with me, on page 94, 95, sorry, it's a little bit hard to find, 94, 95, you'll see that what we're proposing in the table, the simplest way to explain it to you, Councillor Wirtz, is in that table there, you've got the proposed, in the first bit, you've got for 25-26 the proposed deferred budget, which amounts to 2,299,000. And then in the column next to it, you've got the balance of works to be completed this year, 25-26, of $3.270 million. Our budget for this year is $5.5 million. So you can see that we still have $3.2 million to spend this year on upgrading our road network. We're only deferring $2.2 million. In the table underneath that, it shows the same result for 26-27. It says that we're proposing to defer on the HumeLink impacted roads, the roads that are going to be impacted by HumeLink, $2 million, but the balance of work still to be completed in 26-27 is $3.6 million. So our capital works program over this year and next year is still very healthy.
In terms of budgeting for the, say, 2 years' time, you have an extra $2 million or actually $4 million to invest into the capital works renewal program. Will you be able to upgrade some of the infrastructure projects to a higher standard than they are currently, given that you have a higher budget to put into those?
$3 million. The idea of deferring that $4 million using a rounded figure to 27, 28 is that we do anticipate, even though there's road maintenance agreements in place, on top of the maintenance we're already going to be spending on those HumeLink impacted roads, we are anticipating that there will be more capital works on those roads required in 2 years' time. So that money that is shifted out in 2 years' time will be used for what we anticipate will be more capital works than we had initially forecast in 27, 28 than what we're going to have to do. So that money won't, to answer your question, we won't be upgrading the roads to a higher standard. The roads are in a pretty good standard. We'll certainly be upgrading the roads to make them new in 27, 28 to what they were before the work started.
Okay, so Councillor Sheldon?
Just following on what Councillor Mitchell, Director Mitchell.
You've been demoted.
I'm all over the shop, don't worry about it. Well, my recollection,
This is a great job.
having discussions with previous General Manager Chris Adams, roads are graded depending on where they are and what work they've got to do and what weight they've got to take. Has much changed in that? So as what Councillor Wirtz was saying, the roads are graded to a certain standard and that's what they've got to be maintained at.
Yes.
Grading, I should say.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, the roads are graded, and as per the attached asset management plan, that they're graded to a technical standard, yes, that has to meet local roads, regional roads, state roads. They all have a different standard of finish that's required. So we do that work ourselves, and or we employ contractors to do that work on our behalf, and we work to within what we call the road guidelines, the road technical guidelines, which are set by IPWEA. They're also set by Transport for New South Wales, and they're also set by the road, what's called the road safety plans. So we follow those standards. We then do condition audits on our roads, which rank the roads from 1 to 5. 1 being good, very good, 5 being very poor. And as per the asset management plan, I think you'll see that we have invested significantly in roads over the last 5 years, and the majority of our roads are in categories 1, 2 and 3. We have very few Cat 4s, which is poor, and we have no roads in Cat 5, which is interesting.
Which is something we're proud of.
We are proud of. There's certainly there's nothing wrong with having no roads in category 5, and we have invested a lot. And in our long-term capital works program, you'll also see that we are forecasting to spend $49 million on roads in the next 10 years. What I will be bringing to Council in November is the rest of the asset management plans for our other 13 categories of assets, which will clearly show, and you'll see that in the strategy document attached here, that there are 3 categories only of assets where we've spent enough money to keep those assets from going backwards. Okay? The highest one is roads. We've got other assets in our plans, we'll see that in the asset management plans, where we need to spend more money because those assets haven't had a lot of effort or care or money put into them over the last 5 years. So there's going to have to be, I believe, a reprioritisation of our capital works program based on what you'll see in the asset management plans in November. And there's a briefing workshop on that. And we've explained to councils very clearly how asset management underpins not only the financial sustainability of this council, it underpins the long-term financial plan for this council. And if you don't get that right, because after salaries and wages, your CapEx is your biggest expense. If you don't get that right, this council will continue to run on a deficit for the next 10 years. So there's an opportunity now that we have asset management plans in place, which we've never had before, to get that balance right. And what you're seeing here today in the roads category is a start.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to the Director again. If the project runs, this is based on the fact that the project has a 2-year lifespan, or is intended to run, is intended to only run for the 2 years. Do we then review all of this should that project run over, which means that we will have to then look at a second rephasing of the capital works so that we don't suddenly go in and build brand new infrastructure only to have the project continue to have a significant impact on those road services?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if you look at recommendation number 5, which is council commits to undertaking a full road condition audit in 27-28 to address that exact issue, that if this project is still going, which I do anticipate it will be, this project's already running a year late, it will continue to run late as the HumeLink joint venture partners actually get their heads around what they're dealing with in terms of access, in terms of bringing everything they need to bring in, including an accommodation camp at Batlow to set up the workers, which is running 8 months behind schedule. We'll find that we will be doing, or they'll still be using our roads, I believe, in 3 to 4 years' time. The road maintenance agreements have conditions in them that say if the project does continue beyond the timeframes that are set in those agreements, then mutually agreed between both parties, those road maintenance agreements will continue. But the key thing is here, I want to do a full road condition audit based on their current program, which is 2 years, in 27-28. And that audit will clearly tell us, A, are we maintaining, or are the roads being maintained in a condition that's acceptable? And B, the capital works spend, like the renewal spend, that we will have to do after 27-28, it'll clearly identify that.
Thank you. Okay, could I just ask 2 questions, please? I really wanted an assurance that the deferring is only on the roads going to be used by HumeLink.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor, that's clear in the report. It is only the roads impacted by HumeLink, and that's why if we go back to the financial implications of the report, I'm telling you we've still got $3 million each year to spend on the other roads and keeping those up to speed that aren't impacted by HumeLink.
And I just get a little bit nervous of when we've got grant money saying, oh, we're not going to spend it now, and then they'll go in 2027 or 28 going, well, we were going to give them some grant money, but hey, they've already got this sitting there.
I'm prepared, not all the roads in the HumeLink maintenance agreements are grant funded. There are a number of them that are, and they're the regional roads is the majority of those. But there are a number that aren't. Those roads are funded from our cash reserves. I'm prepared to go back to the funding bodies, who I believe will thank us, and say, guys, can we redirect that funding onto other roads, or can we defer that funding for the period of time that the roads are going to be impacted by HumeLink trucks? I don't think there's any utility in doing renewal on the roads that are going to be impacted by HumeLink over the next 2 years. In fact, we'll be criticised by the community, by funding bodies, if HumeLink are rumbling along these roads and we're undertaking capital renewal projects on the roads at the same time.
Criticised by HumeLink.
And HumeLink will criticise us as well by saying, what are you doing? We're paying you to maintain the roads, but here you are doing capital works and renewing the roads. What's going on? It just does not make sense.
And do you think we will redirect or defer the money, the grant bodies? Will they redirect?
I believe they will redirect.
Yeah, so that's your preference?
Yeah, well, it's my preference, but it's redirect onto roads that, as we know, are in 1, 2 and 3s. They're in good condition, but I believe we can redirect onto the roads in our roads program so that we continue to spend the grant money.
Okay, councillor Inglis, sorry.
There are some 51 council roads affected. Is that correct?
Yep.
My question is this. Obviously, a fair bit of attention and time is going to be involved in maintaining and repairing these roads used by humans. Is that going to impact, that commitment, going to impact on council's capacity to maintain and look after other roads in the Shire?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, it shouldn't impact on our ability, because those roads that we were going to be, the roads that are in the HumeLink agreement, we're going to be maintaining those anyway. So the money that they're giving us is on top of the maintenance that we would have been doing on these roads anyway.
I'm not so much concerned about costs, but the capacity, the manpower, the truck power, the equipment to be able to do the additional council work as well.
Well, I believe there's an opportunity with some of the money that HumeLink are paying us for us to employ more resources to do the maintenance on the roads. And that's been flagged with the works crews, that the money that they're paying us is money that we could use to bring on staff and resources for the 2-year period that the road maintenance agreement's in place, to make sure that we aren't under-resourcing ourselves in other parts of the LGA.
Councillor
Grahamstown Road, why HumeLink using it?
Good question, Councillor Hayes, but they've identified it as one of their main haulage routes.
Well, it's not even B double route.
They've identified it in their plan.
Can we challenge it?
We can, yeah. I'm only going off what they've provided to us as the roads that they said they're going to be using.
Right.
And that was one of the roads they said they would be using.
And do you think they've just used a shotgun approach?
I believe they've looked at carefully where these transmission towers are going.
Yeah.
And they've identified the roads that they will need to get to where these transmission towers are. As you know, they'll use our roads to get to the access point where they have an agreement with a private property owner to then access off our road. That makes it difficult for us to know the exact extent of the road they'll be using. But they have done their homework. They do know exactly where these access point roads are going, because we've got all of them on our system, because they have to put in a section 138 for every access road that they want, access point they want to connect off our roads. So I'm happy to go back and say, why are you using this road? Why are you using that road? But this is the list of roads they've given us.
It is in the middle, isn't it? So it
makes sense.
Yes. Maybe if they're bringing gravel from the river up, I don't know, but it's, HumeLink West is going the other side of the Snow Mountains Highway, and HumeLink East goes.
So this is in the East agreement, apparently, the
Yeah.
yeah.
This is
in the
HumeLink
East.
East.
This is East. It just doesn't, geographically, it doesn't make sense to me. So
I think that's our role to
the
challenge
other issue, the thing we really do well as a council is build roads and look after roads. That's what we do well, and we can make money at that as well at times. I'm suspicious of what the implications of something like this could be. If the government says, "Oh, you're just being too clever, you're not getting next year's money," or whatever. I don't think we should put ourselves in a situation where they come back at us and say, you're just being too clever for your own. And we're denied funds, because I just can't see it as a great thing. I want to make sure that these roads are maintained. We've spent a lot of time and money, for example, on the Grahamstown Road, and it's getting better and better and better. And now we're just saying stop.
No. And I want to be very, very clear on this, because I went up to Sydney, to Transgrid office, to say we wanted this agreement, but the agreement is to maintain. It's not to
renew.
Not to renew. It's to maintain. And personally, I would love it at the end of this project that East and West came back and said, you guys really, honoured your agreement and the roads were kept at a good high maintenance level.
That's part of their approval, by the way, as well, is that the roads have to be returned to council in the same condition they were handed to council before the project started.
What condition when you go from 1 to 5, these roads that you're maintaining, what condition do you think they will be in at the end of the project?
Well, in the report I've attached in the spreadsheet, you'll see that all of these roads in the HumeLink agreement are in condition 2 and 3. So they're in good and fair. That's the condition they've got to be returned to council in. So
will council have to undertake that work so we can get them back to that standard?
As I've said in the report, I'm recommending we do a condition audit in 27-28, and the condition audit tells you whether the roads are in 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. And that's my guarantee to satisfy that either the road maintenance agreements have been done in accordance with our expectations or they haven't. And if they haven't, if I can prove that the roads are not in condition 2 or 3, then we have grounds to go back to the HumeLink joint venture partners and say, you've trashed our roads more than what you said you were going to trash our roads.
Okay. Any other debate?
Just
Councillor Inglis.
one question.
Yep.
That condition audit, I take it, will be done independently by a contractor? And if so, what's the likely cost?
So, Councillor Inglis, yes, in answer to your question, it'll be a condition audit exactly like this one that's done by professional engineers. This is a condition audit that HumeLink have done on our roads here in Snowy Valleys Councils in July. They call it a dilapidation report. It's a condition audit, and it will be exactly like this. I won't use the same company, but I'll use a different engineering company who give you a very detailed, there they are, conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 report on the asset. The cost is $150,000 to $180,000 to do one of those. We have to do them to do asset management properly. We do a condition audit on all our assets every 5 years. We have to do it every 5 years, and so that's what this report will be. It will be our road condition audit that we would do anyway.
Right.
Every 5 years on all of our roads to score them as a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5.
So 27, 28, 50.
27, 28, yeah. That's when they've told us they are meant to be finishing the project.
Thank you.
October 27, promised. Councillor Packer.
If the funding bodies say we're not going to let you defer the money, you've just got to reallocate it within your works, do we have enough other projects to be able to use it?
It's always the Lower Bago Road, Councillor Packer.
And the end
That's the report. And do we have the staff then to do that, plus the maintenance of the human?
Well, coming through you, Madam Mayor, coming back to Councillor Inglis's question as well about resourcing, I think for the maintenance work, the expectation is if we need more staff to do the maintenance, we would hire them for a 2-year period to do that. The grant-funded capital works program, that's already resourced. So we've known for a long time when council adopted our long-term capital works program back in May, we knew we were going to be doing those roads. So we've resourced accordingly. There is resources to do those roads already. What we do need to look at is the resources to do the maintenance, which HumeLink are now paying us for monthly on those roads. And I believe we can recruit to do more resources to do that maintenance work. We're also, just as a council is aware, the amount of grant funding, as you're aware, that we're getting in the next, and I've foreshadowed this with my staff, in the next 2 to 3 years is reducing. The amount of grant funded work that all councils across the state are receiving for all of their capital works programs with their roads or other is decreasing. So I'm forecasting a fairly lean time for capital works for this council, because I don't see we're going to be getting as much grant funding coming through. If the Brindabella Road comes off and we do continue to do that, that's one big project that will save our works crews and resources on being able to do that project. But outside of that, we can't afford as a council through our cash reserves to fund our roads program going forward without grant funding. We just can't. So unless you want to operate at a $5 to $8 million deficit every year going forward.
Question, Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question. I'm listening to the opportunities to increase our capacity for road building crews and things like that. Is there the opportunity through this for Snowy Valleys Council to reconsider the Snowy Works unit that used to exist, that actually went out and tendered for private works, which gives council an opportunity to generate an income from external sources? We can't charge the works on council work, but we can actually source private works and go out for others. So maybe there's the opportunity, if we're building this workforce over the next 2 years, that in order to maintain them and sustain them going forward after that, is that we look at developing the works unit that used to exist, known as Snowy Works and
I'd like
Services.
to get the Acting General Manager to speak on
Through you, Madam Mayor, so council still has that unit, so council still has that team, it's just not called, the Snowy.
But it's not ring-fenced either, which is what it was previously. It actually generated between $400,000 and $600,000 a year that contributed to the bottom line of council's discretionary funding.
So that still happened. So they currently looked at the budget over $1 million profit, I think it is, that's forecasted. It's very hard to predict, obviously, because it is based on the private works, but they do have ongoing contracts with Transport for New South Wales and national parks and things like that. So we still have that unit, and they sort of very much run like that. It's just not called that anymore.
So I know Councillor Hayes is also keen. Could an email be sent around to the councillors to actually just point out that part about how much money the former Snowy
Works and Services.
is? You know, how you were saying the other day, you'd like to know how much profit that area is making.
Well, previously, when we had a board,
Yes.
we would know each project,
Yeah.
the profit.
And we are the
And
board.
so did the works crew.
So we report that internally, so every private works project is sort of reported, and obviously sort of management and discuss that, but it is a service area in our sort of DP and OP private works, so that's obviously the profit we hope to make, and then obviously that comes through with the actual sort of financial statements, but yes, all that reporting's still done internally.
Still has its own cost centre called
Yeah.
private works.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Thompson, are you ready to close debate?
No, because it's not my.
It's not you.
motion.
Oh,
Councillor
Councillor Words. Sorry, Councillor Words.
No, I need to close debate. No.
Okay, councillors, we have 5 recommendations. All those in favour? And we have Councillor Thompson, Councillor Packard, Councillor Hardwick, Councillor Works, Councillor Ham. And so against we have Councillor Hayes, Councillor Larter, Councillor Sheldon.
Is absent.
Okay, moving on to 11.3, draft flood study for public exhibition. Do I have someone move? Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Packard. Do we have any discussion?
Madam Mayor, I need to say that it's important that this goes out now, so that what can be done is that it comes back in the time frame to enable council to actually adopt it by the 20th of December, I think it is, because it is grant funded, the actual study itself. There's some incredible information in there, and just to encourage the community to have a read of it. It's a huge document, but I do thank the Coordinator of Growth and Development for actually producing this report and the almost like a little executive summary of the hundreds of pages we've got there.
Yeah, it is interesting.
The yellow
Councillor
page.
Packard?
It was talked about having pop-ups to explain this to the community, and I think that will be really important to be able to have the person who presented to us also be able to present it to the people who will have their concerns about the implications of this. Have we got that
Or
planned
should
in?
we ask?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can confirm, but my understanding was yes, there was going to be 3 or 4 pop-ups with the community.
To speak.
Yes, I'll get Mr. Wilton to confirm that, if that's okay.
Through the chair, yes, we will be arranging for the consultant from WMA Water to be providing a pop-up or a number of pop-up sessions within Tumut. So interested members of the community can come in and engage with the consultants in terms of the findings of this report. We will be developing a common strategy by the end of this week in relation to how we can get that information out there, just so to ensure that not only can we get engagement in terms of submissions in relation to this study, but also to making sure that people are informed in relation to not only the content, but also the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Two things. I think these consultants speak in
Consultant language.
in acronyms and engineer speak, and I think it'd be very handy to have a glossary that's easily accessible, so people can understand that a 1 in 100 year flood doesn't mean it only happens once in 100 years, and things like that. The second thing I noticed is that they're predicting an increase in rainfall by 28% or something. 27%. If that starts tomorrow, I'd be very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But are we sure that what they're predicting is correct? That's the other thing.
No, that's a national average as I read it. It's not
us.
It's not any particular locality.
So
it's in response to Councillor Willet's inquiry. It's made quite clear.
Councillor Willet.
I'd like to speak to this. I think they've done a really great job with the report. I've managed to get through some of it. It was quite dense. I think I needed a proper degree to actually read all the terminology, but it looked like they've done a very thorough job on the flood analysis. And after reading it, it was good to see that it actually came up with very similar results to the 1987 flood study, which dictated that in 100 year flood, or the 1% flood, was 3.6 metres at Tumut. Tumut gauge in terms of the river height, which is actually less than the 2012 floods, which was apparently a 1 in 150 year flood.
Yeah.
Just furthering on that point about the increase in rainfall due to climate change and the increase in carbon in the atmosphere that is predicted to increase rainfall Australia-wide, it is a national percentage increase, and it would be interesting to see a study actually looking at the local rainfall in terms of precipitation within Tumut, Gibbergandra, Gilmore, and also a lot of the surrounding flood studies which are going on currently with this one, and actually understanding how the rainfall has tracked in terms of averages over the past, say, 50 to 100 years, and seeing if there has actually been an increase in rainfall in that time period, and whether we expect to see an increase in the next 25 years like they're predicting in this report. Well, not in this report, but referencing other reports which have said 27% increase by 2050.
So is this a question, Councillor?
No, it's a statement. I just think we need to keep that in mind in terms of before we, obviously this report's well done, but in terms of referencing other reports that may or may not be applicable to the Tumut area in terms of a flood study, moving forward into the flood mitigation strategy, which is the next step in the process. Mr. Wilton might be able to speak to about the next stage in the process after this is approved. Could you please explain what the process after this would be?
Through the chair. So there's two components to these studies. So there's obviously a flood study that maps not only rainfall and also design events within the actual catchment itself. But there's another component to the study which requires council to consider the risks and also their risk appetite in relation to these design events. So essentially, and as some of the councillors might have alluded to before, there's an annual exceedance probability event of the 1 in 100 year flood, and that's essentially what these events are modelled on. there's been some new guidelines in 2023 that are potentially looking at events of 0.5 and 0.2, which will considerably increase the flood area. And that's something that council is going to have to grapple with in the next strategy that we do, which will follow this current study. And basically just modelling our risk appetite as to whether we want to accept those higher flood planning areas, which will have a larger impact on the towns and villages, or whether we're willing to accept a lower risk appetite around that. So this body of work basically defines the floodplain areas, if I can say it that way, and the next body of work looks at our risk around that. So.
Thank you.
And that, I'm sorry, just to clarify, that risk appetite, would that be affected by the rainfall increase as predicted in this report?
Through the chair, that's correct. So essentially, what the consultant's telling us is that the rainfall is actually expected to decrease over time, but the intensity of rainfall events is expected to increase. So you'll have less rainfall over time, but certain events during that time will have increased volume of rainfall, which will then obviously exacerbate flooding impacts in the actual catchments. But again, it's up to council whether we choose to adopt the annual exceedance probability of 1%, or whether council want to look at something in addition to that. But again, that will be something in the next study that we do.
Is there any way to prove, obviously the data, to find that time frame of intensity as opposed to the long duration as in days and months, but then also time frames? Flash flooding occurs in 1 hour intervals. The river can rise and fall very quickly. Is there the data associated with that rise and fall? It would be kind of scarce, considering that those sort of minute record keeping has probably only been going on for the past, 20 years, or has it been? Is the records there? Is the record keeping large enough to actually make a definitive decision whether that intensity that they're predicting is actually occurring? Because if we just take their word for it, we can't actually go and pinpoint whether that is actually occurring within the records in this specific instance.
So through the chair, and there's a number of gauges throughout the catchment area that have got some really good data, and there's some other ones that have got some more limited data, if I can say it that way. Again, it's about averaging the data that we do have in those gauges, and being able to come out with a potential model that council's happy with moving forward under that next strategy.
Okay, so any more debate, question, clarification? Councillor Latta.
Yeah, look, the only comment I'd make is as soon as I see the word climate change, I immediately want to run 1,000 miles from anything that's written there. I mean, talk about alarmist, 14 to 27% by 2050, 41% by 2100. I mean, who's checking the veracity of these claims? Who's coming up with this stuff? I mean, it's no different to what we've seen during COVID, during this whole windmill exercise. I mean, all this solar panels taking up farms. I mean, this stuff's just all nonsense. And the sooner we, get some people in to actually consult on what's really happening and look at the data and facts from a realist perspective, and stop making decisions based on this alarmist nonsense, I think we'll all be better off.
Thank you, Councillor Latta. Okay, Councillor Thompson, do you want to shut today?
I will
Shut.
Close the door. Yeah, I know. Shut the gate. Close the door. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, I think what's really interesting in all of this, and we are all entitled to an opinion, and I think that our democracy is wonderful where we can share an opinion openly. Whether we all agree with each other's opinion is something else, and I think that for those who have been impacted by high water issues and flooding over recent years in particular, it's changing, and we see how different it is from what it was 30 years ago, even to the last 15 years. It's important to note that this is only referring to the Tumut flood study and that there are flood studies being undertaken for the other areas and regions across the Snowy Valley. So it's not that it's focusing only on Tumut. It's so important that the community actually reads this and to understand. But the point for us is that the immediate flooding happens so quickly. In our region, because we're in such a tight valley, the water that comes has a massive, and that was one of the things in the actual report, it's not about necessarily the volume of water, but the velocity of that water and the impact that that can have. So each of our towns across the Snowy Valleys is going to be very, very different. And that was one of the things that I know that during the actual meeting that was had with the presentation, is that to identify that Tumut reacts differently to Brungle, reacts differently to Adlong, reacts differently to Tumbarumba. And so we encourage people to read this document. People are entitled to their own views on what's happening with weather events and climate. This is not just about a rain event, this is about a change in the pattern of what's occurring. So please read it. If you're interested, please put in a submission.
Thank you. All those in favour? So we have Thompson, Packard, Hayes, Inglis, Hardwick, Works, Sheldon, Ham, against Larter. Okay, moving on to 11.4, Telbingo Telecommunications Tower Licence Agreement. 29 Woodley Street, Telbingo, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Hardwick. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just through you, we have a confidential report that goes along with this, but I do have a question, but I have checked that it's okay to ask it. I won't mention the numbers. This is a secondary tower to the tower that we've already approved that has gone into our waste facility area. This one here is being located near the RFS up in Telbingo. The query that I have, that this is a tower and there's a reference within the report itself that identifies that the tower will be constructed with X amount of infrastructure, and that is what we have based our fee on. And I just want to clarify with the director that should the proponents of the tower decide to put additional infrastructure onto that tower, in effect enabling more people to lease it off them, that council gets to renegotiate and charge them more money for the tower.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's correct, Councillor Thompson. So that's what that clause in the agreement is about. And if the proponent does want to sublease parts of the infrastructure that they're building, the tower, on council's land to other service providers, which is not uncommon, they sometimes attach what we call microcells and macrocells also on the infrastructure for other service providers to use and charge them a fee for that. We, under that clause, have a right to come back and renegotiate.
Thank you. Any other discussion or debate? I'll put that motion to recommendations. All those in favour? We have Thompson, Packard, Hayes. You're in favour, Councillor Hayes?
As long as it's a reasonable amount of money, I think we go the last one way.
Okay, Hayes, Inglis, Hardwick, Worts, Larter, and against Sheldon.
No.
Oh, you're in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Bigger hand. Oh, unanimous. Okay, and then the and the minutes of the committee meeting 12.1, Tumut Flood Risk Management Committee on the 30th of September. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Packard. Councillor Thompson?
No, it's all been said in the previous. This is the meeting for the outcome of that report. So,
all those in favour? Councillor Larder? Yep. And Councillor Sheldon. It's unanimous.
Glad we're not drowning.
Thank you. We are now going to break and go into,
There's no
With-
confidential.
Go home.
There's just a reporting confidential.
so the meeting closes
Go.
at 4.